definitely not the same day that we shot gluten-free carrot cake, because I have a different shirt on, so you know it's a different day.
But everybody else that you're going to see
Everything
has the
else.
same clothes on. It's like you're stuck in Doug Funny's world.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I loved the idea of a molten chocolate cake and wanted to do the same thing, but with caramel. The only thing was it took a little bit of work to get there, but I think what's awesome about this recipe is that actually it's just a very simple cake that's very easy to make that just happens to have a liquid center of hot caramel inside of it. The first step is for your center, taking a 1/4 cup of dulce de leche, which, let me just say in fairness, you know, I started out making my own caramel. It was delicious, it worked, it was fine, but you know what, you can get like, you know, something very close to what I was making out of a jar, and a lot of it is frankly delicious and just, you know, ready to go awesome. So this is dulce de leche, and it's going both in the center of this cake and going in the cake batter itself. So in order to get that liquid center when the cake is hot and, you know, the crumb of the cake is fully set, you know, around that center, dulce de leche, I'm adding some butter to it. And the reason is at, you know, that hot temperature, it's going to mean that it's extra fluid. If you put this in the freezer with, you know, mixed in with the butter for at least half an hour, the butter is going to freeze really solid. And even though it's still going to be a little bit like kind of tacky because there's so much sugar in this, that's going to mean that as the cake cooks up around the filling is going to sort of drop down into the cake and stay fluid, and going to be like really want to run when you cut into the cake. So hopefully we're going to see that happen. I'll bet $5 on it. I've got butter. I'm going to work into the dulce, and that's going to go into the freezer. It needs to be room temperature right now, just softened. I mean, you could soften it in the microwave a little bit just for the sake of being able to work into the dulce easily. It's not so much that you want to taste butter in the center of the cake, it's that you are relying on the ability, like the fat content of the butter, to want to freeze pretty solid, you know, when it's very cold, and then also be very fluid when it's hot. Claire and I actually, I went through a lot of development agita over this one, you know, trying to figure out how to achieve this, because with chocolate, you have, you know, with a molten chocolate cake, you have very different properties coming from the chocolate itself. This was trying to figure out how, you know, you can achieve the same thing, but without any of those sort of properties that you know, you're kind of relying on in a molten chocolate cake setting. So I'm gonna do 4 blobs about equal sized for this filling. Let's get this in the freezer. Cool, so we're gonna leave that alone for about half an hour while we make the cake. So let's prepare our ramekins. So these are kind of, it's probably like an 8-ounce ramekin. We're only gonna go to about like the lip, you know, sort of that inside little rim. I'm just gonna butter and sugar these just so that the cakes wanna kind of unmold and slide out very easily. Should I do, you know, I guess I'll do a brush. So yeah, again, room temperature butter is your friend here. You don't need a brush for this. You could just use your hands. I feel like I'd get like a lot of like comments if I had just like my greasy mitts all up in there. Do some sugar. We had a recipe kind of ideas meeting that was based solely on recipe names. And molten caramel cake was just like one of those things that I didn't really see out there, and it just sounded like something I could really like get down with, you know, that other people would be into. And like the whole notion of a self-saucing pudding, you know, like a dessert where you get a thing, but you get like a sauce already built into the thing. Like that to me is very compelling. Let me mix together my dry ingredients here. I've got flour, baking powder, and salt. It's a good bit of salt just because that dulce is, you know, fairly sweet. Just gonna whisk this so it's ready to go when I need it. All right, and then the cake itself is like pretty standard. You know, we're gonna cream together some room temp butter and sugar. Start to get that nice and airy, create good structure. And then I'm gonna work the dulce into that along with eggs. So we're kind of getting there. Just looking for it to be kind of light, get that fluffy texture. It's just gonna help create like a good like airy crumb to the cake. All right. So now I'm gonna work the dulce in. We probably need to get Gabby to pronounce it properly at some point. Yeah, well, you know, it's like you want caramel in the cake as well as in the filling. Otherwise, it's just kind of a very blonde cake. So that was kind of like the key to kind of working this thing out. I hope you don't feel cheated that I'm not making my own caramel, but honestly, like, it's better this way. It's like very predictable. It takes like so much less time, and you can't really start with like a hot caramel because part of it has to go in the freezer anyways. So I'm just gonna work eggs into this. The batter is gonna look a little bit grainy and separated, and it's totally cool. It just has to do with the ratio of like fat and liquid that's in there from all that egg, because we're not making a big volume. All right, and then we're gonna do vanilla. We're gonna have to scare up somebody to taste these things. So, batter's fine, everything's cool. Gabby, will you pronounce dulce de leche for us?
Oh, sí. We had a whole conversation this morning about it.
Because I feel like Argentinians pronounce it dulce.
Dulce.
Dulce, yeah.
Dulce.
But like, I can't say it like
I can
that.
do Rick's accent. Dulce. But no, it's dulce de leche. Yeah.
Yeah.
We call dulce anything that's sweet, like preserves or jam.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, dulce de tomate, dulce de naranja.
And it doesn't have to do with the fact that it's sweet?
Yes. Oh, no, definitely, yes. Dulce is anything that you spread on a toast,
Okay,
like jam or preserves.
Yeah.
Anyway, class is over.
cool.
Bye.
Thanks, Gab. So here's the deal. So we're gonna put the filling on top of each one of these, and it's gonna just kind of sit on the top. While the cake bakes, the filling's gonna kind of drop down into the center of the cake and hopefully not go all the way through the cake. Now, I just wanna have the filling be cradled slightly with like a little kind of divot, if you will. So just like a little like landing pad. It doesn't have to be perfect or exact. So you can freeze the filling directly on metal. Like parchment isn't a great idea because it's just gonna get super sticky. So, you know, you honestly, you know, I'm using a Silpat just because it's nominally a little bit easier to clean. These have been frozen for a while. As you can see, this has been in the freezer for a long time, but it's still fairly tacky just because of that sugar content. So I'm just gonna scrape this onto my divot. Just like that. I'm not gonna really press it down into it too much. Hey, it's a family show, dude.
Damn right it is. Oh, Morocco, what are you doing, bud?
Molten caramel cake.
Yeah, you are.
Oh, could you do your Macho Man Randy Savage impression real quick?
Whoa. In front of these guys?
Yeah.
No,
yeah, I told them all about it.
Chris,
I
we're not
told them
there
all
yet.
about it.
We're not there yet.
Dude, I promised them a show.
That's on you, pal.
Brad.
It is pretty damn good.
Oh, it is pretty good. It's fine. We'll just wait. Next video, ma'am.
Yeah, people love a good anticipation.
All right. So these are going to go into 350 oven, yeah? All right, 350 oven.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. We are taking it back to the oven here. So we've got a little bit of the filling kind of erupted a little bit, but that's fine. Honestly, it's a good sign. The cake itself, you're gonna be careful. This is very hot. The cake itself is set, a little bit browning around the sides there. I think we're good. As long as the caramel is like more or less encased, it's not really gonna, I mean, the cake itself can be overbaked, but there's not a moment at which a molten center becomes a non-molten center, like there is with like molten chocolate cake. Does that make sense? Once this filling is molten and hot, like it's not gonna start to set until it actually just like completely cools. So we're kind of good to go in terms of unmolding one of these bad boys and seeing what's happening here. It's gonna loosen from around the sides. Again, molten caramel is hot, in case that's not obvious. Oh, great.
The cakes are ready.
Cakes are done. Filling, as you can see, even though it looks like, oh, well, it all kind of erupted out of the top, you know, it did and it didn't, because what happens actually is like there's a lot of filling relative to the amount of cake. So a lot of it actually drops down into the cake. But what I'm loving about what's happening here is that I just see like that little beady eye of the caramel kind of staring back at me. And I know that like there's a good bit that's encased in there. When I give it a poke, I can see that like there's a good bit of like fluidity to it. Stay on target. Ooh.
Excellent.
So like here is the idea of the self-saucing pudding made you know, brought to life, you know, where you have that molten center, you know, kind of dropping down into the bottom of the plate. But you can see where it was kind of encased in there. Had like a little caramel home, and we just set it free. Cool. Well, Kate waits for nobody, and I think we're gonna call Tommy to the front here. I can't do this. I need to do this for you guys, not for the camera. The camera already got one. This one's for you. Oh. Okay?
Oh,
Yay.
yeah. A river runs through it.
It does. It certainly runs through this cake. Careful, it might be a little hot.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
Oh, so that's why I'm going first.
You're our early warning system.
I kind of knew it, but
for cake temperature.
I'm gonna go in the middle.
How was it?
Really good.
I know, right? Oh my god, I love this.
This is so good.
So good. I like
I just like that it's like it's a very simple cake, but it does look pretty heavy lift, and it's just like a super fun, easy dessert. Impress your friends, and yeah, pretty freaking delicious. Cake time!
Come on in.
Oh, it's so warm.
We're down to spoons.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for coming down.
Yeah, this is so good. It was always good, but this is like, this is really good. So I'm gonna go eat all of this.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Come on down.
All right, we have like one left. Look, this is the first one I cut into, but it's still perfectly good. Yeah, there's a little bit of butter and then sugar inside of the ramekins, just so you get like a very clean release, you know? So you got a little bit of like crunch, a little bit of texture. If you really wanted even more, you could use sugar in the raw or something.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm gonna eat this whole thing.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that okay?
yeah.
It's been lovely. Thank you so
All right,
much.
yeah, thanks.
I need a private room, so I'm gonna go.
All right, cool. Well, that's it. We're done. Cakes are gone. We sold them.
You got here.
That's all that's left. Super easy, delicious, and you know, definitely pulled together this Friday afternoon. So, done.
All right.
So, first step.
So is this like a step up from like a mug cake, or like if you
Whoa,
liked
whoa,
a
whoa,
chocolate?
whoa, Tommy, a step up from a mug cake? To me, this is like actual, still like real baking, you know, and not like gimmicky in the same way. I mean, mug cakes, like obviously it was invented by Albert Adria, right? But I feel like what it became was something like far more sinister, you
Yeah.
know, and how that like played out, you
It's
know.
like going from couture to Zara.
Yeah. Or like Forever 21.
Yeah, even worse than, yeah, mug cake I think is Forever 21 level now.